Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here, and welcome to episode 15 of Music on the Run. This episode features a killer artist, songwriter, producer, musician from St. Paul, Minnesota, continuing on our series of Minnesota artists, Stokley. He's next on Music on the Run. We're going to talk about music, of course, how he stays in shape on the road, but we're also going to talk about the events that have been going down in Minneapolis and all over the world. It's a special edition of Music on the Run. Stokley is next. Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here, and welcome to episode 15 of Music on the Run. My third Zoom interview here from the Peterson family basement. We've been playing music down here since 1958, and now we're doing video podcasts, a regular podcast from here. And my next guest is an incredible artist and musician and friend who has been the lead singer in the band Mint Condition. He has a incredible, successful solo career with a number one already this year. And he's a fellow Minnesotan. Please welcome my buddy, Stokley. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing so good, man. Where are we finding you during this incredible 30 days?
Where else would I be but home? You know.
I know. Where is home for you?
I was right here, right off in the St. Paul area. Yep.
St. Paul.
St. Paul, there we go, man.
St. Paul? You in St. Paul?
There we go.
You know, I should actually move there or have an address there or something because otherwise it doesn't look good on the resume, right? Where do you live, Minneapolis? Oh,
wait a minute. Well, you know, the same thing, Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to put two together, at least get it in there, you know what I mean?
Exactly right. It's not a total falsehood. You know, I can pull that off.
Right,
that's right.
Right.
So you're not touring. I'm not touring. What's keeping you busy right now?
Just basic life, raising a family, you know, trying to get one child out of high school, you know, so it's her senior year, and trying to manage.
This is her senior year now?
Yeah. So she'll be graduating. Actually, her classes are done. They've done the online thing for the remainder of the year, you know, since this COVID thing came down on us. And, trying to get them, you know, into the next phase, whatever that is, because we got two viruses going on. So, I mean, we're just trying to make sure to keep their managed, you know, their anxieties. And, you know, my young boys is, you know, they're doing fine. They're doing all right.
Okay.
It's,
well, we're definitely going to get into that conversation down the line because I want to know how things are. But a couple of things I want to talk to you first about. You and I, we've known each other a little while.
It's been a minute.
It is. That's
it's
good.
Been some life. It's been some life.
But we've finally gotten a chance in the last, I'd say, 10 years to play music with each other.
Right. Sure, which has been a great honor and a pleasure for me because I've always been a great admirer of your music, your talent, your family, the amazing aliens that you all are.
Well, you played with Billy and Patty before and I had a chance to play. So for those of you listening, Billy and Patty are my siblings, and Patty's an incredible singer.
Yeah.
Billy's a great bass player, producer, arranger, and you did a record with her with David Hazeltine, and that's what I see. I didn't realize how deep you are as a musician until I listened to that record. I was like, Stokley's the R&B guy. I totally was. You know, that's what I knew because I didn't know any better. I just didn't know any better, and I went, wait a minute here. And I heard all that knowledge of bebop and Latin and African rhythm. Man, you're a great musician, man.
Thank you, man.
I have so much respect for you. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Hey, and then you and I get to go to Australia together.
Thank you. First of all, that was amazing. A great experience, man. I've always wanted to go there. I mean, Melbourne was just one of my favorite. Definitely got to go back there. I mean, it was just, I tell people that experience is just amazing. You know, great city, great people. You know, it's just the landscape was really, it was a weird experience because that's like, I didn't know where I was. It was like, that was in the wintertime, wasn't it? Right?
I
It was
believe
here.
so, yeah.
It was in the wintertime, and I'm sitting out at the park over there, we get up, you go run, and then
Right.
I was like trying, and everybody else was, Bean was doing something else, getting this coffee or whatever. And I'm sitting in this park on this little, just laying back. This is crazy. It's just like summertime. It was like summer, springish, but it's
Right.
beautiful, amazing.
Melbourne is now my Australian fans are going to be mad at me, but I love Melbourne because it reminds me of here.
Very much, very much.
You know,
Very
I definitely
green,
have a
yeah.
kinship with them.
Yeah, for sure.
So you grew up in St. Paul.
St. Paul, the capital.
Yeah, the capital.
Capital.
So
Yes.
how does that affect you coming up as a musician? What are you listening to in the house?
Well, I grew up primarily with, Teddy. Well, go back a little bit. So my thing is percussion, hand drums and that kind of thing. And my parents found out that I had a talent. At least it sounded like that, to their ears. I'm beating on, some antique bongos. My folks used to go back and forth to Africa, and exchange, clothes, and they'd give all their clothes and come back with these African artifacts and all these different things. So there was some bongos off the wall. Somehow I got down and started hitting what sounded like rhythms. I thought that they didn't know what that sound was and woke them up. Like, what is that? Do you hear that? What's going on? And, it sounded like somebody that knew what they were doing. So my dad happened to know a friend from Panama who had this African dance troupe. And he brought him by. He said, "Oh, the kid can play. He's got good hands." So he took him with me, and my first gig was down at the First National Bank of Minneapolis, I think where U.S. Bank is now. And I
Okay.
was standing on top of a chair playing bongos. I actually still got the actual newspaper clipping. It said "Big Drum, Tiny Drummer." And
That's
so
so
I'm standing with my
good.
little daishiki on,
Oh man.
yeah, so that's kind of how it started, man. And from there, I started, they had a lot of different arts programs for kids when I was younger. There was this place I would go to called the Inner City Youth League. And they used to have programs for kids, martial arts, visual arts. So be there drawing, of course, music. They had a recording studio in that spot.
Oh wow.
They would hold also little meetings and things for the community there, come and talk and voice their concerns and organize that kind of thing. So I was a part of that. And there's a group called Black Arts Midwest Drummers, and we would go around and all these different little functions, events around town. And mind you, this was off the heels of the civil rights movement from the 60s late. So this was kind of on the heels and shoulders of all of that stuff.
Okay.
So both of my parents being educators, I had all that stuff going on. I remember these parties in the house. We'd have all these continental Africans in the house, and I'd hear all this music,
Right.
all this music from all around the world. And we had, my father had Middle Eastern students. Some were trying to bribe him for with a grade, of course. You know what I mean? Grade. So I remember going.
Hey, guy's got to do what he's got to do.
He said that we went to this because as boys, me and my brother, we love to eat, right? And he said, "Man, my father would tease me. You love to eat with your hands." And it was this Middle Eastern meal with chicken and rice, and the way they eat is family style.
Right.
No utensils.
Right.
And even this, so that was right up my alley. I was like, "Oh yeah." So.
Right.
But my pops was like, "Yeah, well, that was kind of like they were trying to bribe me with the grade, but it didn't work,
Oh,
of course."
that's
But
classic.
so I had all these different, experiences and people and cultures and things that I was exposed to very young. And the music definitely at an early age opened me up, and of course with all that stuff, I've onto my dad was a jazz aficionado. I heard all the great jazz drummers of the day, from my favorite old schoolers being like Max Roach, Art Blakey are my main two old school cats that had it, So
Yeah.
and of course great percussionists like Mongo Santa Maria, I mean, the list goes on, man. I think some of the names are escaping me. So that's some of my background as far as that, and later on moving to like steel pan and and all these things were just a part of my upbringing, as well as the social thing coming up at the same time, because I was very much into that. So I mean, at least I was exposed to it. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was just having fun. So
Right. So through osmosis, your parents are having hangs at the house, having so many different people from different walks of life, different cultures coming in. All this is coming down on this little kid.
Right.
And you're just eating this up.
Yeah.
Not only are you eating the food, but you're eating the musicality.
Literally,
you're eating the culture up. And
Yeah.
so this is how this starts to mold who you are
Yeah.
as
absolutely.
a musician. Tell me about Cliff Alexis. Is that his name?
Cliff Alexis.
I want to hear
Alexis
about
Sr.
Cliff.
Yeah, rest in peace. He just passed away last year.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And when I was out with the Revolution, matter of fact. And so Cliff, I call him my second father because he's the guy that really helped mold me.
Okay.
Not only as a musician, whatever little technical skills I have as far as theory, he really helped shine me off, and polish me a little bit. But he, amazing teacher, amazing man. He just had a unique way of teaching. I met him in this summer arts program called Twin City Institute for Talented Youth, T-City. And it was held
My
over
wife went to T-City for
Did she?
acting.
Okay, see, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was held over at
No.
McAllister College at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I think maybe it moved at one point.
Noah
Or it
Levy, Noah Levy, the drummer.
Yeah, yeah.
He went there with my wife.
Is that
So
right?
obviously you're a little bit younger than us. But
Wow.
that is so cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
And I went there, I think, a year before I was supposed to, because I think you had to be a certain age. I think I was 8th grade or something like that. And I was coming out of the 8th grade, I believe, something like that. And so I met him there. And somehow my father knew Cliff's wife, because I think she was in the community events and that kind of thing as well.
Okay.
So we met there, and I told him I played drums, and I kind of auditioned. I played a little bit, but although he already had a drummer in mind, he had a drummer that was there, and had a drum set and everything like that. So, of course, him being him and the brilliant man that he's I was like, I want to play drums. I'm a drummer. He's like, no, I'm going to put you on this drum over here. I'm going to put you on this double lead. I was like, huh. I was just getting this new experience that I'm coming into with steel pan, this guy with Trinidad and with this funny accent and a really thick accent I could barely understand, and
Right.
and but I knew it was special. And we spent that summer learning all the I mean, just amazing, like all the tunes of the day, whether it be Stevie Wonder, whether it be Steely Dan, as well as Tchaikovsky, Bach, Brahms. I mean, it was just a myriad.
On the
It
drum.
was an orchestra. There was like 25, 30 kids. And the thing with steel pan, people don't realize, they're like, turn the organ off. It's like, there's no organ. This is what it sounds like,
Right.
But there are different voices. You have the bass voice, which you can have from 4, these are 55-gallon oil drums. People actually pound out and make into a concave surface. And there's a little bit of geometry involved because you have to measure the notes. The bigger the note, the lower the tone.
Sure.
So the small, that kind of thing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so you have bass voice, which can be up to, 6, 8, 9 drums. Some of them hanging sometimes. If you see these big, great orchestras. You have the cello voice.
Yep.
You have the guitar voice. You have the voice that plays melody. You have the voice that plays melody and harmony. The double seconds and double lead. So all these things I was, exposed to. And that summer is when it happened. It sparked me up. And so going into high school, at that time, high school, before that year I went into high school, it was from 10th through 12th.
Yep.
But that year they expanded from 9th, through 12th. So that was
So you were a young man going into high school.
Yes, and then
Got it.
he just happened to be teaching at St. Paul Central, which is where I went. And so I continued my education with him there.
Wow,
And I later on met Homer Odell from Met, guitar player, coming from Ann Arbor, Michigan. He transferred some kind of way, and we met there. So the story begins.
So
Yeah.
you met Homer, who's the guitar player in
Yes.
Mint. That's where you
Yes.
guys hooked up.
Yeah.
You were
And
in
he
ninth
had
grade?
he had
when you were-
experience in Ann Arbor, Michigan,
Okay.
with another steel band up there. As his stepdad Phipps, I forget his last name. Forgive me. But so they had a steel band up there as well. So he already had coming with experience, and we come together, and just amazing. And that's where it started, man. But Cliff was he's just an amazing man. I just forever indebted to him, and it just as far as not only musically but also as a man. When I got in trouble, he it's just like I said, it takes a village, and he was part of
Yes.
that village. Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to go back later in life and thank him or spend time with him?
Oh yeah, well I would go back and get my steel pan tune. Matter of fact, I spoke
Really?
with him. Yeah, I was when I was going to return from the European thing with the revolution. My plan was to go and get it tuned. That was the whole thing, you know. And then I heard the news he was sick in the hospital, and then the next thing it passed. So I was on, you know, en route right after that to go get my pan tuned, and that happened. So, but yeah, we're speaking all the time. He'd be
That's so
He's
cool.
like, man, why you not calling me motherfucker? Why you got, you know, he cussed me, you know, just cussed me. I
Yeah.
mean, just amazing. I mean, he had such a brilliant way of teaching, you know. I was also in concert band in high school, and he
Right.
would, the concert band teacher would come down. I was like, how are you teaching these kids? I mean, he would take kids with no prior musical experience at all, none. And we're playing the most complicated pieces, you know, and he had a really brilliant way of, he would take it piece by piece. It would teach you in phrases, you know, which
Okay.
I'd never seen anybody. He'd be like, in no context. He'd be like, gong, 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 da, gong, gong.
Right.
No rhythmic, no rhythm, nothing. It would just be the notes, right? And they were like, what are we learning? We didn't know. But he knew in his head what it was.
He
you
had the
know.
plan.
Yes, had
He
the
had
bass
the
voice, the
plan.
cello voice, the guitar voice, you know, quadraphonics, whatever. And next thing you know, he'd be like, okay, so like it goes, and he'd play it, an example, and then he'd count it out. So we were like, phrase by phrase, and we'd build this big monster of a arrangement, whether it be, you know, pop music or whether it be classical, whether it be jazz, you know,
Yeah.
amazing.
Sounds like a great man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Had a great way of teaching. Very popular class. And, you know, he really was a man who, just to speak to his character, he didn't really eat with the faculty. He ate with the students. You know, faculty
Is
had
that
their
right?
own. You know,
Yeah.
he ate with us. You know, so he
that's
was very
really
loved
cool.
and, you know, just really, really cool. So, and got a lot of kids out of trouble. Just really set them straight. I mean, because he talked to you like it was a friend. You know what I mean? And a mentor. He got you straight, and he would talk straight. If you had to cuss, he's like, I don't care how you say it. You tell your mother I cuss at you. Tell him come here.
Yeah.
Like what, you know? He'd be like, and we just loved him. Just
Yeah.
loved him, man. Yeah.
So you met Homer there, and Mint Condition was born.
Yes. Yeah.
How many
That's
other
it.
members of Mint went to Central?
Everybody except for Rick. Rick's from Chicago. Came from Chicago, I think 85, 86, something like that.
Okay.
But everybody, you know, Larry was the first one to come out of Central, and then me, Odell, Jeff, and Carrie.
So
all of us.
does it come out of the Pan Band, or does it come out of
Well,
just hanging
no,
out? How
all
does
of
that
us.
work?
Well, it also so at Central we had a magnet arts program. So they had like an acting class. They had a
Okay.
steel drum class. They had
Yep.
a recording studio there, and this guy named Ben James used to run it. It was the instructor over there, and so we all were involved in that class. You know, so we had me and Odell met in steel drum class, but we also had had the recording arts class as well. So Carrie was involved in that.
So by this time
Jeff,
you're playing traps, right? You're
Yeah, I'm playing traps. Yeah, yeah. A
Okay.
lot of stuff. I mean, back then I wasn't. The whole singing thing came. That was, you know, I was more comfortable. I've been doing drums longer than anything.
Got it.
You know, the different styles and all these different bands, different genres and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, yeah. And in high school, that's when I discovered whatever I had about my voice. You know, in the recording
it.
studio. So I started multi-tracking myself.
Right.
And Odell, he's a naturally gifted engineer. Just it's
Odell
in
is.
him.
Wow.
He just knows how to hook shit up. He's just
Okay.
You know, so
He's
he
that
actually-
guy.
He's that guy.
Got
you
it.
know, so I didn't. I learned more from him than I did the actual instructor. To be honest with you, so he was
Really?
my instructor basically. You know.
Got it.
Just
So
to
you
put
were
it-
hanging hard with him, and then did you actually form the band in high school and start playing out? How did
Yeah,
that-
well, when like to go back to Odell, so he would say, I would put these together, these little songs and everything, and they're pretty much Prince inspired. Like the whole falsetto thing was really funny.
Oh, yeah.
And
I know you got some of those.
oh
somewhere.
my God, it was a ton of them, and they're hilarious too. They are hilarious. And
get 'em.
so he was like, man, this sounds great. I've never, I haven't heard anybody do anything like this in here in the class. So I was like, man, I would hear myself multing these vocals. I put a little drum machine, a little bass part, some chords, and
Right.
just start. It was only 4 tracks. So I mean, you bounce
Yeah.
the 3 tracks, and then you,
Oh, yeah.
you do the, with the vocals on it, that kind of vibe.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I discovered my voice there, and I always was a person who would mock my family. Al Green was the guy vocally because he was so many different people inside of one man.
For
I
sure.
love that. So,
Yeah.
but I was pretty much, we put together, there's another gentleman who played bass in high school, and we just started getting together, and it was kind of like a little iteration of me and Odell's journey together, I should say, because everybody else just kind of fell off.
Okay.
And just kind of lit our fire a little bit because I found out he played guitar. Odell's
Right.
like, "Oh, you see, he had a guitar," and like, "Yeah, man." And at that time, it was funny because he was playing on one string. He would solo
What?
on one string. Yeah, he was.
What?
Yeah, he played on one string. He would solo on one string. It was funny.
I bet
So,
you
I
he
mean,
killed it too. I bet you
killing
he
it.
sounded great on one string.
And he didn't play with a pick.
What?
Yeah, he didn't play with a pick at the
What
time.
is that
so
about Minneapolis guitar players? Bean doesn't play with a pick.
Just totally original. Is all I can say. Just
Because
totally,
I can remember being on stage going, "Odell, I need a pick for my bass," and I don't think he ever. Does he play with
Well,
a pick?
he uses
now?
a pick now. Yeah, he uses
He
a
does,
pick
yeah,
now.
okay.
Yeah, but when he started, he would use his fingernail, and he tried to grow his fingernail. Really, it's like, man, that is the craziest thing. And he had, it was just amazing, amazing. So, but we had our little bands and stuff we played with, and a band called Rampart,
Okay.
and then which was a street in famous street in New Orleans. My father gave us that name. What about Rampart? And yeah, then there was another couple of iterations. We had another Dream Team or something. It was like kind of a funk fusion thing. So we were playing all the latest Crusaders shit. And,
Oh, sure.
And Jeff Lorber fusion and stuff Mahavishnu, all that kind of inspired. Weather Report kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we had that phase, and later on, in mind, I was playing drums. There wasn't a lot of singing going on
Okay.
then at that point, until I don't know what it was. There was a couple of people at that point. Every band I played in, we pretty much rehearsed down in my mother's, my parents' basement.
I
And
understand
so
that. That's where I
You
am
get it.
now
So
too.
there you go. You know the deal.
I understand
you
that
know.
one.
In the whole multi-instrumentalist thing, which I mean, I only claim drums, but I was just came from more curiosity than anything.
Yeah.
Because all the instruments were left down in the basement, So
That's how they do it. They planned that out. That wasn't by accident.
So I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, I'm done about practicing the drums. What was that thing that lick they were playing earlier? I pick up. Oh, okay. Just kind of, What was
Right.
the thing that was happening? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you play everything. You play keys.
I play at it
you-
enough to make shit up. You know what I mean? Songs and
I
whatnot.
resemble that.
Yeah.
but you play bass, you play guitar, you play keys,
Enough.
you play drums. What am I leaving out?
That's enough. I mean,
Okay.
I think, and I challenge myself where I think any instrument or anything I pick up, I got at least one song in me on it. Whether it be harp, I'll figure something out. And I'm sure you're the
Okay.
same, but you know how
Right.
it is. It's by your ears, like, oh, you can figure something out. And so.
Know enough to be dangerous, right?
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. The real people who do the real damage, okay, let me let y'all really
Yeah.
deal with that. So,
That's
yeah,
I get
real
that.
bass players, y'all
Oh,
do what you got to do,
right.
Get in it.
I understand.
Get in it. Yeah, man.
So how does this relationship with Odell turn into Mint and what we know as
So-
beginnings of Mint?
Okay, so we had let me I gotta use my brain here. Go back in time in the Wayback
I know.
Machine.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good because I discovered stuff that I even haven't thought about in a while.
Right.
So the iteration of another iteration of Mint was something where we were doing like the funk fusion thing, right?
Yep.
And I remember we did a performance at. And forgive me if I come in and forget some things that I'll be adding along the way, just because
No, that's
I'm
fine.
forgetting about this. So I have,
We're just hanging. This is
Yeah,
what
so,
this podcast is.
What happened was, so we had this iteration of this funk fusion thing, and we did a gig at the Martin Luther King Center in St. Paul.
Okay.
And it was really funny because I said the whole Minneapolis thing was going on, and
Oh yeah.
we had this section in the show where we just like doing our own thing. And then Odell was just like, he was doing the Prince thing. We was doing these like pelvic thrusts and whatnot. Everybody's like, oh.
At the Martin Luther King.
Yeah, it was hilarious, man. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And at that time, too, we also had another young gentleman playing with us who had, joined. We were playing in the basement. It's like, well, let's just get together and play. And Roger Lynch. Was,
I know Little Raj.
Yes, Little Raj.
I knew Little Raj.
Yes. And so, well, let me go back. So before that, somehow Roger came to town or, we heard about him, this little 12-year-old kid, as old as my boy now, and who was amazing. Mm-hmm. And he came in the basement. It's like he found out I had this little mauve that I brought from Torp's Music in St. Paul. It was a popular store.
Oh, yeah.
And it was owned by this lady named Cheryl. And Cheryl played in this group called Shangoya, who I used to go and watch, which Cliff Alexis Sr. was a part of that. So you see how all these connections and stuff happen. So I bought this, and he was, Raj comes on, you got a Moog. Whoa. And he was just like really, really excited about it. And he was just going to town on it. So, it was one of my earliest memories of meeting. He was 13 at the time.
Wow.
So Raj was included in that gig. And so in the audience, not in the audience, in the wing was Lawrence Waddell. Lawrence before that played for, I believe it was either Geraldine or Davide still. One of the Steels. Okay. He was playing, accompanying her.
Okay.
And he saw the group. He was like, man, y'all are killing it. Sounds great, man. So then we included him. We just started. It just came from jam sessions, So it became this instrumental thing. And then Larry brought a whole other, he really heightened our sensibility on the jazz side because he's just as brilliant as he is. He's amazing, know. And so that went down like that. That's where Lawrence came in, and just continuing in the basement. My dad, back in the we had the joke. It's like, man, you're doing all this practicing. When you gonna do a gig? You know what I mean? It's like, you're gonna leave the fight in the gym, man. It's like, what do you,
right?
And my dad would try to get us these gigs. We're like, no, we're not ready. So I didn't really think we had a real goal then, other than just to play and have fun and whatever was of the latest thing that we liked. We would try to emulate that and just do our own thing. So we, it's just when I think back, it's just so funny, man, the little songs, because there's some stuff my dad would be like, oh man, some nights I would be like, so glad you were done. So y'all play some old ugly music sometimes. Like, I'd be like, what?
My mom used to call it rang-a-jang music. What are you playing that rang-a-jang? And smeary guitar. Would there be like a rock and roll solo? She called that smeary guitar. So I feel, I understand.
Yeah, I feel
your pain.
But they loved it because it was positive and they saw something. There was some promise there, so there was some potential. And being my father, a man of the community that he still is, and at that time there was a lot of connections and a lot of things he could hook us up with. So there were a few events and festivals that we would play, that kind of thing. And so, there came a time where we met another friend of ours who was just working a regular 9-to-5, and he loved Prince, this guy, and he basically was like, man, I get some money. We should just get a rehearsal space somewhere and just start jamming. So it became this thing where this guy became, I guess, the lead singer. He wasn't really a lead singer, but he just loved being out front and he had energy and that kind of thing. Yeah. And he loved to scream really loud and, but that was pretty much, was his thing. So, so that was it, man. It became me, and I'm forgetting some things along the way. I remember that there was a time somewhere in there where, Roger Lynch, he went to go play with his father, right? And so we were looking for another keyboard player. And we found that in Kerry, who was coming. He was the last one to come out of Central. And I should talk about Jeff Allen, too, because he was a very integral part. Went to Central, would seen him playing at all the little school events, and he was playing, alto sax. There's one time I seen him playing alto, and he was playing keyboards at the same. I was like, dude's talented, man. Yeah. He was like, he would switch off, and much like Jason,
Yep.
pretty much the same vibes. Like this dude was like, wow.
Jason's
Reading
my
charts
nephew.
and-
For those of you listening, that's my nephew.
Yes, that's right. Another Peterson, another alien.
Another
And,
alien. Yeah.
And so yeah, Jeff became a part of that whole playing in the basement and really practicing that kind of thing. And so Kerry came in after Roger left to go play with his dad and that whole thing. And that was kind of the beginning of it. We had this other guy. There's a few things. I'm so out of order here because I'm just
all right.
remembering things.
That's okay, man. That's
When we graduated high school, let me get my thoughts together here. We were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But we had this thing going, right?
right.
And I had an opportunity at the time because I was still playing drums around town and working at all these odd jobs. And to go play with this guy named George Pettis. He was on MCA Records. And he had
I remember George. I think
Yes.
I played on his record.
Oh, yeah.
I think I did. I know
Wow.
Ricky did. Ricky might have
I'm
produced
sure.
it with David Z.
Probably. I'm
Yeah.
vaguely remembering some. Yeah, I can't remember which song or which album. He might have had like 2 albums, maybe or something like that.
Right.
I don't know. So anyway, it was this big tour with Whitney Houston, and so I went and went every nook and cranny of Europe. So that experience, and I was barely 20. I had just turned 20, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life, and that's what really lit. I already knew music. In 11th grade is when I was like, okay, I think I'm going to try, doing this because I got scared. I was like, next year I'm out of here. What am I going to do?
Right.
That's when I really started thinking about it, like for real.
Yep.
And so I didn't go to college. I remember going to Northern Illinois University where Cliff Alexis actually went after graduation. He left Central High and went there. And I kind of monitored classes. I was like, nah, I don't want to do this. So I was working, working, doing that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I got the gig, went over to Europe, and came back. I remember telling Odell, I was like, man, we get back, we're going to hit it. We're going to really do something, special. So the guy that I told you who worked, we did that and went into the rehearsal halls and started to rehearse and that kind of thing. So we also, after that, took a trip there was 4 of us. So there was me, Larry, Odell, and there's a guy named Ray Coleman from Wisconsin, from Milwaukee, amazing bass player. And we took a trip out to L.A., and it was, I remember working with a band, it was a family band called the Uchawi Dancers, and African dance troupe. We would work the Renaissance Festival each summer. So I took some of that money, I would save up and all that kind of stuff, and I bought the plane tickets, and then we lived off of, after times got tough, we were out there for a little bit in Altadena trying to take the bus into L.A. and figured out how, in the first year, we're like, oh, it's a long way. So we rented a car some kind of way. Yep. I don't know. And after times got a little tough, I got my wallet stolen out there and whatnot from this little kid. And so we're living on cereal and soda, and water. It was, crazy. So we lived off of Odell's Amoco card.
That's what we call dues. Dues.
Yeah, right. Living off his Amoco card, man.
Oh,
and it was
the Amoco card.
And we did a actual unsung on TV One. We talk about some of this stuff, how there was this breath fight. It got really, when brothers don't eat, they start getting, crazy. Your nerves get crazy, man. So there was an actual breath fight, because one guy was like, stop breathing on me. Said, it was just
You
really.
gotta be kidding me.
No, it was like serious, and it was funny as hell. I was like, oh my god, what is going on?
You were living together too long.
Yeah, pretty much.
Too
We're
much
all in the
time
same
anyway.
house. Yeah, it was crazy, man. So we get back to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and we're continuing to practice and everything. And so Ray decides, and at this time again, the whole Minneapolis thing is going on. Jesse Johnson is jumping off at this point. Maserati's jumping off at this point,
Right.
And so there was another group. There was a bunch of different groups around. So Ray Coleman decided to go play with one of these other groups, right? And we're like, okay, we were a little, felt a little dejected and whatever, a little down, depressed, whatever. Right. So we're looking for another bass player. We go down to this place called, I'm looking out the window because I couldn't really get in. or maybe I did. I had a fake ID. Actually, I did get in. So yeah. So
Me too.
had a fake
That's
ID.
a whole nother story, man.
Yeah, and I went in and we saw this guy with these leopard skin. Back in the day, it was the look.
Oh, yeah.
Leopard pants and the little shiny rayon. A suit jacket, whatever.
My whole back wall's filled with those kind of outfits, by the way. I understand.
Yes, you get the pajama look and all that. Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
We had
Guilty,
those.
guilty.
Yes. And so, seeing this guy killing it, playing bass, and he was singing background, singing lead, doing the splits and spinning. I was like, ooh, what? Who is that dude? It's Rick Kenshin.
Oh.
Yeah, Rick Kenshin. I was like, wow, what the hell, man?
He's serious.
And I was like, yeah, we need to get him. We need to get him. So that was the beginning. That's how pretty much I didn't explain it all the way, right? Everybody's,
No, but that's fascinating how all those different elements come together. And now fast forward a few years and tell me how that connection with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis come into play.
So, okay, it meant we never did, we weren't really a cover band. So our shows and gigs and performances were pretty limited to, festivals, little events here and there. Showcases was our thing. So we were always trying to showcase. At the time, the thing was like, man, you get you an investor, man, get some equipment, rehearse, that whole vibe. And so we were always rehearsing, and we had a showcase it was down at the police depot in 4th and 4th in Minneapolis at the time. It was in Minneapolis. And we were rehearsing there, and we were managed at the time by Sylvia Payne. Sylvia Payne.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Sylvia Payne managed us. It was Andre Simone's sister. Yeah. And if everybody who's known, Andre Simone, of course, was played in Prince's early bands, who came out, and then went on to do amazing things on his own with solo records and production with Jody Watley. And, just amazing and on, just amazing. If you look him up, Andre Simone, amazing, just amazing human. Bassist.
I'm going to get him on the show, too.
Yeah, man. Amazing. That's kudos to him. So, and I have ties to his family as well. And, yeah, man, oh, my goodness. Where was that? We talking, so,
you just did your showcase at the police station.
So the showcase, yes, with Sylvia, and then,
I was actually listening.
I'm like, because I started, I'm like, oh, I got to talk about, yeah. So, she invites Pete Rose down to the rehearsal space. Yes, invites Pete Rose to the rehearsal. I want you to see this band. We were rehearsing and that kind of thing. And so, hold on, before I get there, so pause for a second. With this band, so that guy who was footing the bill for the group, right?
Right.
At some point, he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. You're better off without me. You guys, go ahead. I'm just gonna chill back. I'll keep playing for the space and everything.
Oh, cool.
Just when you all make it, come back and get me, kind of thing. That kind of vibe. And I was back singing and playing drums.
Oh.
Which I was fine. I loved that. That's what was my thing. I love doing that, and just you can kind of hold the pocket and make it exciting, and just kind of play referee from back there. You know what I mean, quarterback or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so then I was like, well, who's gonna sing? It's like, Stoke, why don't you do it? You got. I was like, all right, cool. I love singing.
So that was like, okay,
right.
Get out there.
Get out there, and I love dancing and acting the fool and entertaining, that kind of thing. So I didn't realize that all the things before that had prepared me for that role. Of
course.
You don't know. Until you get there.
Don't.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I love to dance. We make up our little choreography and that kind of thing. And it was quite a thing. So I went up front. So we had to find a drummer. And there's a guy named Kenny Young from high school, St. Paul Central. Okay. So he was playing with us for a while. And so we were rehearsing. And then something happened one day where Kenny couldn't make it or something like that. And so we had to find a drummer. We were like trying to figure out, we were practicing one day, and I was like, man, I got to practice up front. I can't be back here if I'm going to be up front, All
right.
And so I don't know if it was downstairs or upstairs. We heard this drummer like killing it. It's like, who's the dude?
Yeah.
There's a dude, man. Go check him out. So we asked this dude downstairs, we're like, hey, man, can you come and sit in? You know what? It's like our drummer's gone for the day. I mean, just come sit in, just kind of, fill in, whatever. It's like, oh, really? Okay. All right, yeah. He comes up, and it's like, well, it goes like this. I'm like showing him the parts. I'm like, yeah. He starts playing. Yeah, I heard some of the stuff from downstairs. As I'm showing him, we're going through some of the stuff, and I'm showing him the breaks and everything, and I'm, okay, coming up 4 count. We got a little arrangement here, blah, 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 blah. But I realized that he didn't need me. He already knew the shit.
Really?
It's Michael Bland.
The voice should have given it away.
I'm like, what? His capacity for remembering shit is just off the charts.
He's something else.
Yeah, I mean,
he's another alien.
He's another serious alien. So
I'm telling you,
that was the actual. That was the band. Actually, I still have the first photo, our black and white promo photo. When we're going for the deal, with Bland in it, and that's
no way.
Yeah, got the promo.
This is new news on me, man. I did not know that.
Yeah. So he was actually a part. His name was actually written in one of the contracts. We had
kidding.
Yeah. I don't even know if he knew that, but yeah. But that's when he was teetering on the whole Prince thing. So he kind of, when Prince came down to Bunkers and found him. So he was just,
right.
And he made that journey and gone on to do amazing things himself. So, it became, because it was 7 people originally. So it became 6.
Okay.
And then we had the gig down at First Avenue. It was another showcase.
Okay.
For, I think, was it Pete Rose or another Pete Rose production, I believe. And then we invited, the Flight Time crew down. We invited MCA. We invited Prince's crew down. And I think Levi came down.
Okay.
And at the time, Prince was like, no, just videotape them. I'd rather see them than hear them, kind of thing. That's what he said.
Right.
And so we did that. And I remember jamming them after the show. We only played like 3 songs, And we used to lead off with Pretty Brown Eyes. That's a really old song. Before it came out, we were playing it.
Really?
So, yeah, because it got your attention. We realized that, okay.
A pretty big
really
hit, too, once it did come out.
That was the first song we would do at the beginning of the set. Gun. People were like, what is that? It was like an explosion. Gun. What? Huh?
Right.
And it would be like, wow. Then we get people from the beginning. And that song was a song where people were like, play that Brown Eyes song. I heard your last time play, So it was kind of like the people who heard it was kind of like a hit already in its infancy stages. We hadn't even really recorded it or anything like that. So, but after that gig at First Avenue, I was walking to my car and I saw Jam and Lewis across the street. Like, Stoke, good job, man. I was like, cool. We'll talk next week. And I was thinking, okay, cool. I didn't really think anything of it. At that point, we had heard so much stuff. We're going to do this and, whatever.
I'll believe it when I see it, right?
Right, exactly. So about a week or 2 later, we're up in Flight Time office, and they're like, what do you guys want to do? We're like, well, we would like to at least produce the, half of the album, if we could do that. And Jam was like, y'all can do the whole damn thing if you want to. I was like, oh, really? We can? That's,
Wow.
Because we got signed basically off of the live performance, and then I don't think they knew at the time we had a little bit of experience in the studio just from the high school. So Flight Time was a bigger version of that. We were already familiar with how to hook some things up. It was just working on a Harrison board,
right?
So we went in there kind of acting like we didn't know, even though we knew more than we did, and we should just be humble and that kind of vibe. And yeah, man, it was an amazing. That was the beginning of it.
Then you ended up working not only with them, but someone near and dear to my heart, Jelly Bean, right?
Absolutely.
Didn't you work with Bean?
Yeah, Bean. He was on. Put him on the first project with us to kind of oversee what was doing and what we're doing, and he some of the equipment there because he had been working with Jam and Lewis since the beginning. Staff writer and producer on his own right. So. Yeah, man, he was the co-production of the first Meant to Be Meant album.
He calls you his musical sons.
Yeah, that's right. Music. That's right. My sons. My
musical. Well, my label is Little Brother. I'm
right.
little brother to him.
Little brother. That's right.
Which is true.
All of it. All of it. Yeah, man.
He's something else. That's so cool. I mean, that's another connection we have.
Absolutely.
So here you are. You're young kids. You're what, 20 maybe?
Yeah, but so it was like 23 when it hit off. Yeah.
That's still young.
Yeah.
Then you come out with Pretty
Yeah.
Brown Eyes.
Pretty Brown Eyes, yeah.
Was that your
and
first
that was the
hit?
second single, by the way.
It was
The first-
second.
Yeah, it was. We had a song called "Are You Free," which didn't do too well, so we didn't get freed from that. And the second one came out.
Right.
And yeah, the second one did. It's amazing. That we actually went up the charts, and we started to see it stall. So we decided to do, or Jam and Lewis said we have to do something. And then being a young company, we were trying to strategize and try to figure just guerrilla style. We got in a Winnebago and went, countryside and went to all the HBCUs in the country.
Okay.
And we had them put together, whoever has like the best video that they can make off of the song will win the video. There'll be a chance. They will mail in, somehow they mailed it in, or, some kind of way. It was a contest where they did a video, and then we were in it, and that kind of vibe. So that really was attractive for students. And we went around and we played, and we gave like a little symposium afterwards, talk about our experience and how we got there and everything. And it just started rising up the charts. So WHUR, that part of the country, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia areas have always been like near and dear to our heart, to my heart, to Mid's heart. And also in San Francisco, there is I think it was KBLX. Those two are the ones that kicked it off for us, really believes, they've been day ones, aside from, of course, here at home, Cam or Jay and the local folks, but outside of the cities,
Right.
Yeah, so that's how it kicked off, man. And it's been a long, long road.
What a ride you've been on.
Yeah, man. And I'm
ride.
thankful for each moment, each person we've met,
Think of the lives you've touched, man, through your music.
man.
How beautiful is that?
It's amazing. Amazing. I can't.
That's why we get into this, right?
Right. Yeah,
Really?
exactly. I mean, the feeling that we got from it, it's like, man, I want to do that.
Absolutely, man.
We felt it, and being able to pass that on, and it's so amazing now to see that music at its most basic right now can really heal. I mean, look what's happening right now. We're in this COVID thing, and it's like this is the thing that people are turning to.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because at the end, it's really basic to feel better, to inspire. If you want to cry, fine, it'll bring that out of you. But then we all know that can be therapeutic as well. So,
For sure.
this is an amazing field that we're in. Very competitive, and it's tough. As an artist.
Not every day is the number one hits.
Yeah, most days it's not.
There are a few days in between where there aren't necessarily some hits in there. Now.
That's why you celebrate so hard when there is one, because most people don't get that. So if you do, and we've been doing it long enough. It's one thing, of course, to get in. It's hard to break in, and there's levels to it. And then once you get in, you're trying to stay in, and when you're trying to stay in it so much that you have some success. And once you have success, you're trying to repeat that success. And then while you're repeating that success, you're trying to reinvent yourself, and it takes time. So to last, it's a marathon, as they say, not it's not a sprint. They say so.
Most of the time, some people get in, get out really quick by no fault of their own. It's just the nature of that.
Yeah, it's all that.
You and the fellas have been very blessed. But first of all, you're great musicians, so that it doesn't surprise me that you've had such longevity. That's cool. And now, first of all, let me mention a couple of things. So you send me Swinging. What kind of man would I be? So many charting records, so many gold records. You toured with Prince in 2010. The only reason I'm going through this list is because you and I have some other stuff to talk about. Tell me a little bit about. You got to tell me a little bit about touring with Prince, because I know that must have been pretty incredible.
Man. I mean, one of many people's musical heroes, definitely one of my musical heroes, because he was here. For everybody else, they see him, but I mean, I actually, like Michael Jackson was in our life, in my life. I felt like Michael was always there, literally. I mean, on the Jackson, the Saturday cartoons. I mean, we all wanted to be, it's just like, and from Black folk, it was like, man, to see you represented in that way, did with just everything. It was like amazing just to see that, and you just felt a sense of pride and a sense of belonging, a sense of like, wow, this is great. This is just excellent, So that was there. But then it was still kind of like, that's way over there, kind of untouchable. Prince being from here, I would actually see him out. You know what I mean? Before I remember going to a movie one time with my dad. My dad at some point thought I was old enough. I must have been 14. We went to a Richard Pryor show. And he's like, I think you're old enough to take it. You're good. You're a good kid. You can put it in context. So we went there, and I can't remember which one it was, which special we had it out at the time, Richard Pryor. And I remember hearing this laugh up from, ha 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 ha. I'm like, what is? And I seen this afro. I'm like, what the hell is going? It was loud. I mean, it was a loud laugh. I was like, what? And I remember coming out of the movie theater, and I'm like, oh, that's that guy. He's the one that's got the song, the soft and wet. I was aware enough to. I was like, man, I think that's that guy Prince. And I was like that. Like, oh, okay. So we got a kick out of that, and then see him at various. They had the thing over north at Spike Moss, who's a community activist, an organizer. Then they had this thing over at the Phyllis Wheatley, community center every summer. It was the festival, music fest. He used to give, and he'd bring the Daz Band and all these different national acts. Cool. Amazing. And Prince, it's when Andre was in the band at the time. And I brought him there, and I remember them driving up in this Volkswagen van, And I think this was like maybe first, second CD, I don't know, or album. And so, I mean, just watching his growth, you know what I mean? What he morphed into was just amazing. And it felt like it was touchable. It wasn't untouchable. It was somebody that I didn't know him personally at the time. And but just to see that was just like, wow, this is something you could really, I'm totally inspired, So later on, flash forward, like I think it was 1999. And mind you, a lot of the musicians we've had out the year, I knew of them, and we would speak through him. We know of him, of course, and he knew of what we do, what Mint does, and he was doing the Love for One Another concerts at the time out at Paisley. Yep. So we did one of those. He invited us to play, and it was the actual first time, I believe, that we actually formally met. So we would talk like, I've been hearing so much about you all, and, blah, 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 and, And before that, he would, talk shit in rehearsals like, Mitt can't do this. And, in the back, we'd hear
that was
thing,
him. That was his deal, though. Friendly competition,
Friendly competition, yeah.
Oh,
so, I mean, but it was fun. It was like, you got a kick out of that. Because we would hear stuff, like either Morris would tell us stuff or Mike would tell me certain things. It's like, okay, all right. And so... yeah, that was the first formal. I think it was 1999 we did that. And then, so I would see him periodically. I'd be playing gigs throughout the cities, and, he would come out and say, to have somebody reach out, where Stokley playing at today. He'd come out and actually see me play drums and singing and that kind of thing, and be throwing rolled up dollar bills at my head. And I'm like, what is going on? What is it? Is that what? Hilarious,
I hope it was 100.
Yeah,
$100 bills.
100, yeah. It was a lot of them. I was like, what?
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Oh, come on. All right.
Yeah.
Tips, welcome. We'll work for food.
Amen to that. Yes.
So after that, man, he would invite me, just started, calling me and just to hang, just to go out and talk or whatever. So, which was really cool. And I really, out of everything, even the shows and everything, those were great, but really having those moments alone with him, just talking about life or music, or what I wanted to do was everything. His philosophy, music, what he's, just everything, just hanging, And when we did he did the residency at the Forum in LA, he invited us out and we did that. That was amazing. We played, Columbia, South Carolina. Of course, some dates in over Europe, which were really, really great. And he had some other gigs lined up for it. I mean, he called us a few times where we couldn't do it. It's like, his thing is like, can you guys play next week? So you got to give us a little bit more. It's like, dude, we're in D.C. next week. So, I mean, that kind of vibe. But I'm just amazing being out. And he was, we played the concept over in Europe when he did, it was me, us, Mint, Larry Graham, and Prince, right? And he was like, I don't want the music to stop. I want you all to go on. And then as soon as you stop, Larry comes in, the music won't end. And then when he stops, I'll start. It was continuous. We're like, how's that going to work? So, of course, his whole concept of, we got to share equipment, of course. So, which is what we ended up doing. And somehow it worked.
No kidding.
And I remember when we came off stage, we were playing this song. We have a song called Nothing Left to Say. And we do this little keyboard vocal cadenza at the end. Right. And we're going off and doing this stuff, And he comes afterwards. I'm going back to his dressing room. It's like, yeah, Prince wants to see you in your room, right away. He's like, oh man, he was hopping. Oh man, that was great. It's like he said, did you leave any notes for the rest of us? I was like, oh, you're hilarious, man. And I think this was the time where he had some hip problems, and as I think you can see, he started playing more guitar at this time, right?
Got it.
Or before that. But this particular gig, I remember Larry Graham's wife said he must have gotten the surgery at this point, because he said Larry Graham's wife had said, you look good, man. It looked like you're moving. It's like he said, yeah, I'm feeling good. This is really, yeah. So he looked really alert, alive, and So it was really great to see him. He was in a good mood, and of course he killed it that night. Killing it, and yeah, man, just an amazing, musician, man, band leader, all of it, man. He fired on every cylinder, and we're gonna be trying to figure out what he did, for years to come, He's got a whole vault of it, but just amazing. So, and he was very instrumental. Well, not very instrumental, but I was already on the path, one of the last times I went out there before my first solo release. He's like, well, can I ask you a question? I was like, yeah. Well, why haven't you done anything, on your own, like a solo thing? And I said, oh, it's funny for you to ask that, because I'm in the process. I'm in the middle of that right now. He's like, you're doing something. It's like, I was like, yeah. It's like, he said, can I be a part of it?
Did he really?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I tell you what, just do what you're going to do, and do all your stuff, and then bring it to me so I can, which is what I was going to do anyway. I just want to make sure that my thing is inserted, so it's not just a whole, I'm going to take over this thing kind of vibe.
Right.
But,
wow. That's cool.
So, yeah, but he was down with that. And I really felt glad, even, he'll always, and his music and spirit will always be a part of what I do. It's just, his musical DNA is, it's all in there, with mine. So, yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful cat, man. He's left so much for us to discover,
Yeah. So, and as we move forward into 2017, Prince had passed.
Yeah.
The Revolution got back together.
Yeah.
2017 was a big year for you because you released your record.
Right. True.
And
True.
You got asked to fill some pretty big shoes,
which
by
was
going
crazy.
on the road with the Revolution. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that was really crazy because first of all, I was like, you can't be serious. First of all, I was like, it was just weird
timing.
Yeah, it was a weird ask. And I think what happened was I had heard about it through my management. And I said no, but I don't think he told them I said no. I think that's
what managers are for.
That's what. I'm pretty. I said, and I was like, "What am I going to do with that?" I was too close to it.
Yeah,
that didn't make. You know what I mean? It just didn't. I was a little. People aren't going to believe that. I mean, what am I going to do? It just didn't make. It made sense, but it took. I was too emotional about it. I think.
I hear you.
And yeah, it was just a weird thing. So I spoke with, Brown Mark, spoke with, it was just crazy, man. And I said, well, how will it work? With songs, that kind of vibe. I got to make sure, So anyway, it worked out. I went to the first rehearsal and just tried to get in there and try to, the only people who I didn't know were Lisa and Wendy at the time.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure they were like, well, who's this guy we've been hearing about? And blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, on you guys' recommendation, I had known Bobby Z, and Fink for a while. And, it was just, we just got in there and just kind of worked it out. And the more we did, the more comfortable I became. And I made it mine. Because it's like, you can't replace him. That's Smart. It. They only make one of him. You can only be you in that whole world. You know what I mean? Just use his spirit, is the
Right.
conduit. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and that became so much fun, and I realized just how dope they are
Yep.
and how much they really contributed. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
I get it.
Yep.
Okay. And I realized that just like Eric Leeds always says, that's the only band that he was actually ever in.
True.
The rest of them, he was a band leader. I heard Eric say that. I was like, that, I got it then. That made a lot more sense to me.
Yeah.
He was part of the
That's true.
band, and I mean, they fought like band, you know what I mean? Just you get in there and then they rustle it up a little bit. And it's like, wow, I can see Release and Wendy's influence. I can see Mark's influence. Bobby Z's and Dr. Fink, all of them. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
wow, yeah, absolutely. So it was, he was just, Prince was a sponge. I could see where he,
Yeah.
it's like anything immediately. He would pick it up and that's it. He's going to run with it. The next day, the song's done, as you know. So, yeah.
Thank you, by the way, for your contribution. Bam, bam. He'd grab it all.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
He
I
would.
mean, which is a skill in itself.
It is.
It's really, to be able to follow through and have that much focus, and then you take it and make it your own. It's really, amazing. So, yeah, the revolution thing, that became such a celebration, because at first, it was, it cost a little bit emotionally. At first,
yeah.
it was really hard to sing certain songs, and, I would go on. It was a really weird thing just because I'm the way that it works is they go on and sing a few songs, then I come on and sing a few, then I go off, then they sing a few, and I come back on, back and forth like that. And so when I'm on, I'm like, this just amazing. This is crazy, and it's electric, and the crowd is having a good time, enjoying and reminiscing. Then when I come off side stage, when they sing their songs, I'm like a fan again. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell am I doing here? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm
like, dude, why are you not here? What? Yeah, it's
Right.
weird. Yeah.
Why are you making me do this?
Right, it's
You
weird,
should be
man.
here doing this yourself.
It's crazy, yeah. But a beautiful. We had so many beautiful moments, man, and just watching all the smiling faces, and and all of the. It's been therapy for a lot of people. Very therapeutic, and with people crying and laughing, and some of the stories that Wendy would tell, just amazing. So I'll always cherish that. Yeah.
I gotta say that they picked the right guy.
All right, thanks, man.
They
just
did.
try
I
to
mean,
do it,
I came and saw you guys a couple different times, and it was because I wanted to check it out for myself.
Yeah, of course.
you know?
It's
I'm
near
like,
and dear
okay,
to
well-
us. It's near and dear to us. You know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
is.
So, yeah.
And I know you. I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you
Yeah.
were going to be you or you were going to be somebody
Right.
else. And
Right.
the way you
Yeah.
approached it being you was
Yeah.
so authentic and as a tip of the hat and in reverence, but yet you weren't there to just, you were there to kick ass and take names.
Right. Good.
This was
good.
about the party, and that's what that
Right.
spirit of that music was. And I thought
Right.
that was
Good.
thought it was a great fit. So
Good. I'm
kudos
glad
to you.
it came off that way. Thanks.
20 then you're touring by yourself on your own solo stuff, and here we are
Yeah.
here we are in 2020, and you have your first #1 single with She.
That's crazy, man. I
Congratulations,
mean,
man.
in the first, so the first album, which had a
Level?
song called Level and
I know.
Organic. Yeah.
I listened to it when I was in Australia without you.
Oh,
And I
right.
used to run and listen to your record, man. It was
That's
great.
funny. Yeah, that was fun, man, and just a natural progression for me. Just having feeling like I have some more levels and things I want to contribute out into the world myself. With and or at least a different cast of characters, because that brings about a different element for you. You know what I mean? You have different. I've been doing this stuff with the fellas with Mint for over 25, almost 30. Well, that journey's been 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
which is-
hard to believe. Because I always think of you
I know.
like the little brother.
I know.
But how
I
can
know.
that be 35 years?
I know. It's
crazy.
We started that journey in 86. Yeah. That's a long time, man.
That is a long time.
It's a long time. And really proud of that. And the legacy's intact. It's just I wouldn't have, couldn't have done it with a better cast of gentlemen with Mint. And just, had so many great experiences, man. And that really is standing on the shoulders of that, and coming from that university. All of us really, I'm sure we take what we take, and we learn from that and move on to the next chapter in our lives. And here I am in that first introducing Stokley. People were like, well, why'd you title it that, because I felt like it was a new beginning, and then there were a lot of people who knew me, but more people who didn't.
Right.
So I thought there was a title that was apropos, just to, everybody doesn't know me. The folks who knew me, they were like, well, we know you? Was like, I know you do, but
Right.
it's like,
I understand that.
get it, and
I get it.
yeah. So it's kind of a play on words, a play on the moment. I thought it was, this is, I'm not new, but I'm new to this as, a solo artist, and
Right.
mind you, there's a lot of people who didn't even know who Mint was. So they're coming in totally new, and that's what I would get a lot of times. Like, who is this guy that was, but in a way, I was just trying to reinvent, reinvigorate, try to stay inspired as we do, because we get lost in it sometimes doing the same thing. And, so I was trying to have that experience and, try to light a fire up under me, and not to be so comfortable to, just ride out to the sunset, doing something that you're comfortable with. But I think, you should be trying to do everything in life that you can, have every experience that you can,
Right.
help people, inspire people.
Right.
And I wanted to continue the feeling of that, as I've done with Mint. So, yeah, man, I had the opportunity to do that. And now on this second one, and she's been amazing doing it with my business partner / manager. We have a imprint called Blue Raft, so we're doing that in conjunction with Perspective Records, Flight Time,
Which is
Productions.
Jam and Lewis again.
Jam and Lewis, yeah.
However many
Right.
years later.
Full circle. Yeah, come full, which is,
I think that is so cool, man.
yeah, man.
That's really cool. How fortunate is they love you, they believe in you, and they want to support you.
Absolutely. And it's been, it's independently, I don't want people to think that we have some big label or, because it's always been guerrilla style with them. Even when we were, even when they had the joint venture with A&M Records, that was, they still had that guerrilla attitude, and it still does. And that's the thing that really moves the needle. It's not the people on the top. It's like, it's great. We do have we have got the frog's eye view. We also have the top view as well, as far as that, what the goal is, what's the big picture. But it takes the soldiers on the ground. We're doing this thing a la carte, trying to figure out, put teams together, who's good in this department, who's good in, and that's all labels do anyway. They just have the budgets to do it. I just move when I can and put my funds back into just as any business does.
Yes,
put it
do.
back into it, whether it be advertising for a show, advertising, for space on radio. So here's where we're going to be. These are things you have to do, magazines, newspapers, flyers, whatever,
Yep.
And so here we are, man. And it's great when you can, get that kind of, have that kind of success. And I feel like it's successful anyway, me being in this thing for the number of years that I have on the level that I have, Sure, it fluctuates, as we know as artists do, and that's just part of the game. But the thing is to make sure that you cherish each moment, and you're grateful for even those low moments, because the low moments and those moments that when people don't, haven't heard from you, those are teachable moments as well. And you need that, because you're downloading life, and you take those experiences, and we all know that when you're feeling worse, sometimes those are the best songs. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? People want to feel it.
Oh,
And then when it's celebratory, then you do that as well. So yeah, it's been amazing.
Number one record, man. I got to tell you, man. I know how busy you were, but I was like, congratulations, man.
Thanks.
It's just so cool.
Really, yeah.
So fun to see that for you, man. Especially at that stage of our life and the stage of the game, man.
And
It's
intentional
really cool.
for me. It's just because I just felt like a lot of us do this for so long, and then we start phoning the shit in. So I really wanted to recommit myself, and with the band that I have, amazing band. That's just all of them are just great, and they with Ashley Commodore, Brandon Commodore, Lindora Turner, and Johannes Turner, Johannes Toner on bass, and Dave Billingsley on keys, and Jesse Larson, D. Jesse Larson. I'm just amazing cast, man. So I mean, they're in the pit with me, man. So I mean, I'm just feeling the fire that I have, I try to pass that on, and we all have it. You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing, and the live show is the thing for me that I've just really been trying to concentrate. That's something that I know that was first, to get that infrastructure together. Because coming from Mint, it couldn't be anything less.
Right.
So I do it the way that I do it, and people, hopefully it resonates with them. If not, there's a lot of music out there, that that's not me or looks like me or sounds like me. I appreciate you for checking it out in the first place. So
Well, you should check it out. Okay, so because this is called Music on the Run, this is about talking to artists like yourself, friends like yourself, about how you keep it all together while you're out on the road. Because I know you have a family.
yeah.
How does that? How do you go about taking care of that part of your life while you're gone all the time?
Well, thank God the industry became kind of more of a weekend show kind of thing. Because we used to be out and doing these tours for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I've done some of that, but more so, most of it has been out on Thursday or Friday, back Sunday or Monday. So
Right.
and so you rock star on the weekends, and then you're a chauffeur on the weekdays. So
Or in my case, the lawn guy.
or the longer, whatever you need. Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, I'm the lawn. What do you think I'm doing right after this interview?
There
The
you
lawn
go.
guy. I'm the lawn guy.
So that has helped in the way touring is now. There was one year where it was really busy. Also, at one point I was in 10 different bands, and it was a group called Ursus Minor, and we played over in France. We did like two tours a year, basically, primarily in France. And so I remember I had that one year, and then straight from there, I went to Iraq. So we with Mint, we played with the troops.
Oh wow!
It was when it was the Mint stuff. So I went over and did some drums with Ursus Minor. Went to Iraq, then from there, went to Japan, and played for the Marines.
Okay.
There. So I have to make that distinction, because they
They'll
don't
get
like when
after
you don't.
you.
Yeah, they're
I
like,
know.
we're not the Army, we're the Marines.
That's right.
Okay, you got to make that distinction.
Semper Fi, mother.
Yeah, but they're like, do not, Yeah,
Right.
I guess it's a class thing, but so we went from there, and then we went from Japan to L.A., and we filmed this thing called Way Black Wind. It was this show with Sinbad, and Sinbad was hosting, and
Yeah, I
for
love
about
him.
a week, and amazing dude, super
Yeah, he is.
funny, talented, and so I was gone for a total of almost like 3 months. That was tough.
Kids are young,
And they were young. They were young. That was really, really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough. So I was like, I don't know if I can do it like that. So I'm so glad that it just so happened that the touring became more of like a weekend thing, And so it helps. That definitely has helped, and it's just kind of natural. And
Right.
if there's something I need to be at, I'm there. Just like any
Right.
parent. You have a schedule, and I think I'm able to move differently now as a soloist, just because it's just me, so I can really carve out space in a different way. I can
like,
work
honey,
when I need to work.
Tell me when the kids' recital is. I won't book a gig on that day.
Right, you know what I mean? And then
Right.
it's all of that. You have to so it's been fun that way. And when I take them, the ultimate is like when I take them with me, the whole family. That's
Right.
fun, and we get to travel and stuff. We're somewhere for a little while, and and they get to do that. So we did
Right.
where did we go? No, it wasn't the whole family. Even when I take my wife, it's it's fun. It's just that
Yeah.
much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I'm a runner. So when I'm in a different city, for me to stay in shape, I used to do P90 net. Oh no! And that's a brief. Hey, that's your signal to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry.
No, that's classic. So I used to do P90X and do all these weights, and now I'm a little bit older, so I run. But you're in great shape. You got to be in great shape because you're in front. You got to look good. You have to feel good. You got to have some wind in your lungs to be able to dance and sing. What do you do to stay in shape?
Well, first, I've always been on like a health quest as far as what I put in my body. First of all, that's been since the days of, I don't know, 16, 17, playing with a few reggae groups. They were getting, just used to getting me acclimated to like how they, here's how we eat, here's why we put in our bodies what we do. It's just as far as what, meat and all these different things. And I just tried to experiment what felt good for me, what felt worse. Like for me, I felt like Meats slowed me down. Definitely made me feel more. I had less energy when I ate. So I guess maybe it's a digestion thing, kind of thing. So that was the first thing. And I've continued that, ever since in my teens. And so I've been doing it a long time. I'm more pescatarian. I do eat fish for now. I guess that will change. And if there's vegan options, I'll do that. Hopefully it tastes good. But I've been known to eat things that don't taste good, but I know that my body will be like,
thank you.
Right.
Right.
And I try to exercise. I mean, the main thing is just, your diet and exercise, get some blood flow, and I try to, like right now, it's about more stretching, yoga, because I think when it comes down to it, when you get older, yes, you can build muscle mass into your 80s weight, probably even beyond that. But it's about being limber when you get older, being able to, switch, stretch your ligaments and your joints and that kind of thing. So I do that, and that keeps me, my back and everything keeps me limber because, like you say, it's about endurance, your wind. Sure. And as far as singing, your legs have a lot to do with that as well. So people forget about that. So I try to do a lot of squats and things like that. So you see me squatting in the show if it feels whatever, jumping up and down. So, I want to be able to do whatever whatever the music is telling me to do. So without coming out of there hurt, or something pulled, that kind of thing. So, yeah, man.
So that's cool. I mean, it's really important that people hear your side of it and how you deal with that. And I suppose that's a great stress reliever too, man, because
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people are pulling on you, interviews, do a record, guerrilla style promotion, all this leads to stress. And if you can get that stress reliever out, people love to hear about those techniques and stuff that you just shared. So
absolutely, it's everything, man. So, but we got to do that. Lost my phone here.
Well, you and I are 1 hour and 20 minutes into one of the most fun conversations I've ever had.
Yeah, man. So okay.
I mean, you never know how these are going to go, but I knew for a fact that this was going to be a super fun one. But some things, you and I are sitting in Minneapolis and St. Paul, respectively.
Yeah.
We taped this on, what do we got for a date here? It's June 3rd. So a week and 2 days ago, there was a tragic murder of a gentleman by the name of George Floyd.
Yes.
And I, first of all, it's one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life. Minneapolis is the epicenter, and I'm going to say it like this, hopefully for change. But right now, the city is in pain. The black community is in pain. My first phone call was to you. Actually, it wasn't a phone call. We were texting like crazy, and you just picked up the phone, and you were like, we're going to talk. Because, make a very long story short, I didn't really know how to help or what to do. And I think a lot of white people don't really exactly know how to help the cause, I guess, is really how you boil down to it. So I was reaching out.
Yeah.
Since I've played, black music my entire life, and so has my family, raising a jazz family.
Right.
I was called out by a former band member of yours, and I wanted to be mad for a second, but he said, we need the members of the white community who love black music to stand up.
Right.
And do something. And I was like, and he said, and that means you, Paul Peterson. And I was like,
Right.
But honestly, I've never been political. I've never been, of course, not for injustice. I mean, you know my heart. You know who I am. Of course. But then I kind of went, I wanted to be mad, but then I went, you know what? He's right. So then becomes the asking the questions. That's when the phone call started, and you and I were just hanging out. First of all, I want to say to you, I appreciate your candor on that, and your willingness to take some time and just kind of walk through it together, I guess. It seems to be, for me, the conversation meant more than anything else.
Right.
I don't think there's a simple answer to this.
It's It's a lot. It's layered. It's nuanced, and there's other things are not so nuanced. It's in your face. At least it's been in our face for ever since. So now that all we're trying to say is like, why can't everybody else see what's happening? And I think really the important question is I talk to all my white brothers and sisters is say, I think maybe sit with the question yourself and say, okay, what is it that I can do? And I think when you ask yourself that question, when you are with some of your friends, and you hear some of these things, because there are these microaggressions, especially up here in the North. It's not so much in your face. In the South, it's like this. Up here, it's more covert. You got to figure the shit out. You know what I mean? And that happens a lot. The whole Minnesota nice thing, and it's it happens in corporations, it happens in property, and this is everywhere. So we're just now uncovering that, or everybody else is. We're bringing that to light for everybody. So now that, look, this is what we've been seeing, what we've been going through. Everybody sees that now. The world is watching. This is what's been happening, and they just so happen to have a camera at this one. So. But it happens. This is more on the violent side, but it's systematic. Yeah. And people say there's no white privilege, but because you're able to flip the switch. You know what I mean? Whereas meaning you can hang out and you can do certain things, but like we have this discussion of like, what can I do? Okay, at some point, if it gets too hard, it's like this is too hard. And it's going to be uncomfortable. But this is the world that we live in all the time. So I mean, when people talk about taking a knee for 9 minutes, your knee is hurting. Well, look, this dude's dead now. You know what I mean? It's like, and we go through this all the time. So, we talk about all this stuff. I would just say that maybe when you're with your family or your friends, you have to do the hard work. If they say something, you have to call them out. Now you might, and doing the hard work means you may lose some friends. Right. You may even lose some family members.
Right. That joke wasn't funny, man.
This, you know what I mean? And there's nuances to it, when people, but when it's really, it's become so normalized, you know what I mean? And not realizing what you're actually saying, why we saying, you know what I mean? So I think that's an important question is like, and maybe ask yourself too, but there are, we can sit down to certain books and things like that because there's so much, we don't know.
It's so vast.
It's so vast, and it goes back so many years. Of course, back to slavery, and there's been so many things. Most likely, things that because I didn't realize that I was halfway homeschooled, and thankfully I was, because most of us, middle school and high school, there's a lot of lies. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have to relearn and unlearn some of that shit. Right. Because it's incorrect. It just simply most of us growing up that with Americans tend to be the most ignorant probably in the world because we don't, entertainment now and some of the stuff that the industry that we're in is kind of almost a distraction. Can be. Yeah, it can be. And it can also be informative as well. Those who really take it on like that. But yeah, man, I in a nutshell, because like I said, there's so much to really ask yourself and the people that are around you, because it's going to take, like I said, justice can't be just us anymore. It can't, it's going to take all of us, to do that, to really, and we need you all's help. People that are not black and brown to realize that this is, we're all in this at the end of the day. If you think it's not going to come to your doorstep, you're sadly you're mistaken. Right. At some point, some way, form, or fashion, we're all feeling this because it's about, humanity, and I think that's why it's resonating with. So they saw a man. Yes, he was black, but it was blatant, it was violent, and there was so much. He had so much confidence. You know what I mean? Like nothing was going to happen to me. Right. I was talking to my pops, and he was like, "Look, this reminds me of this whole military-controlled state, which is what." President wants. His days back in Mississippi, or when he would visit Mississippi, he's from Georgia, and he's like, they wanted to control. It was like, something. It was like the army was basically controlling the state, And what it is, white men and women were an extension of that. And that's what we saw in Brunswick, Georgia, where these guys felt like they can, oh, I got a right. I'm going to shoot him down. Nothing's going to happen. I have the law on my side. It's what happened in New York. The white lady with just like, oh.
With the cell phone.
She knew, she was going to weaponize the police. She knows, I'm going to tell them that you're an African-American man. Because I know, she knew what that meant. So they're an extension of, the whole system. So when we say systematic, and these things that we're the same as you. You can do exactly what, pull yourself up by your boots. So we don't have boots. There's been a long, it's like the race has started like years ago and we're trying to catch up, So, I mean, there's so many things that so many ways that we're so behind. And yes, and all we're saying is just make it equal so we can get our own. Just kind of like with James Brown saying, nobody give me nothing. Open the door, I'll get it myself.
Right.
That kind of vibe. So same thing, but we have to be on equal playing field, and they're playing games. This man knows how to play this game very well. He's been playing checkers, and we've been playing checkers. They've been playing chess. So we're catching up, and we're uncovering to the world everything that's been happening. So now, white brothers and sisters are seeing it. It's what we've been saying all these years, and some of them know it, but just haven't wanted to deal with it. And it's hard work. It is. I would say for you, it will be hard work. It'll be uncomfortable, and that's why I'm saying flipping the switch. You'll be like there's going to be a lot of people who take this moment, and they're going to be like, well, yeah, I'm here now, but you'll just kind of trail off. But we don't have that luxury.
No.
So again, I say, just maybe ask yourself the question when you're in certain situations: what can I do, or just how can I make this moment better when I'm with my people?
Right.
I don't know, but there's so much, man. But it's
what is crazy for me because being a white guy, I'm not making excuses for anybody here, but because we are not you, sometimes we don't know what you go through because it doesn't happen to us.
Of course.
And I think you and I had this conversation, and now it's like, so the blinders have been on for so long, that the blinders are off now, and now it's like, what you gonna do?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Now, what are you gonna do with this information?
Right.
Speaking of information, unfortunately, at my alma mater, they did not necessarily teach about Black Wall Street. They did not teach about redlining. They did not teach about Rosewood.
Yeah.
These are things that we don't know about because we weren't taught that. That's not in the schools, and that's because that the people who are in power making the choices for education did not include that in those books.
Right. Yeah.
It's deep. It's deep. It's deep. Yeah. And if we hopefully have an opportunity here after things, we get through and get justice, and convict all four, I believe that we have an opportunity, and I hope the world sees it that way. Is
absolutely
to do something and make a change and make it better and make it last longer than a news cycle.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And it can't end because the thing is, look how long it took us to get into this. This is not going to be over tomorrow. We're not going to live to see what, you know what I mean? But we have to start making like overwhelmingly these sweeping changes. We can do only so much at the local level, and I think that's one takeaway I think that we're seeing now. It's not just about the national, like voting for the president every 4 years. It's like these people who are locally that we're putting in power, who
the
we're choosing, the police unions and all the. I mean, we got to really. It's a lot. These things are really going to be key. I think that's the thing I take away now. It's like everybody's really focused in on that. It's not just every 4 years. So, man, there's so many things that have been, like I said, those are the systematic things that we haven't, that they've suppressed for so long. So that helps to suppress a new kind of narrative, a new kind of perspective. And then what happens, we are programmed, just like that's what television is, to see it was intentional. How you see, for instance, one of the most segregated things, of course, is like television. They have specific types. I need someone who is loud talking. I need a loud talking black woman. wagging her finger and you just mean and the angry black woman things. So all these stereotypical things. I need a thug, pimp, kind of. You know what I mean? All these things. So these images are so powerful, so powerful.
Our
what
kids
I mean?
see that.
Yeah, and these things have been, just people clutching their purse because they've seen a TV show. These things become real for people. So over decades and generations, this thing gets into the psyche. You know what I mean? And it's, of course, like when you're younger, someone says, I was reading something they were saying that down south, kids who were part of, like a lynching, it was like entertainment. So someone said, well, are you going to blame the kid? Because they didn't know. They've been brought to this. Well, no, but what happens is that will penetrate the psyche of that child. Seeing that image is powerful. So that right there is going to do something to you. Like this kid who actually recorded the actual thing of in Minneapolis, that she is getting bullied just because they're like, man, well, why didn't you do something? What do you want her to do?
There was nothing she could do. She would have been shot or whatever, too.
I mean, they heard the jiu-jitsu expert saying, look, man, that's a jiu-jitsu move I do. As a martial artist, he's not even in it. You know what I mean? But I understand. There was rage. There was, excitement in the moment. It was people are emotional, so you're not thinking. These people making these comments, they wouldn't know what to do either. You know what I mean? It's just, what can you do?
Well, thank God she did record it.
Thank God, because I mean,
thank God she recorded that.
And, I don't know whether it's because of COVID, we're all hunkered down, and it just made it even just that much more dynamic because we're all focused in on this thing like never before. And the difference is, social media, thank God, this is where it really works to our advantage, everyone's advantage. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's we have a long way to go. So even on a good day, if we, start seeing some laws and policies that are changed, what happens is there's still the people. There are people, anybody who's 70, 75 and not brown, black and brown are going to have a certain mindset. It's just going to be there just because it's, how is it not there? You know what I mean? Try
changing your parents' attitude.
Yeah, I'm right. That's there. That's
Mom,
there.
Mom, stop thinking like that.
Absolutely, that's there. Yeah. So, as far as the future, that's where the real justice. So you're not going to find a lot of justice for the people who are dead because they're not here. Yeah, it's for the forthcoming in the future. I think.
It's for your kids.
Yeah.
For my kids.
Absolutely.
You know what really messed me up, man, and I want to share this.
Yeah.
When you and I were talking, that you said your father in the early 70s had to have the talk with you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm talking about the talk that says, look, things aren't as rosy as they seem. You can't go do this. You can't do this. You can't, all the can'ts. The talk that my mom and dad never had to have with me.
Right.
The fact that you now have to have that talk with your children, that messes me up so bad.
It's
that perpetuates it. And maybe your kids, God willing, won't have to have that talk with their kids.
I hope
that's the goal.
I hope it's not the same talk. I hope it's. If it is, then it'll be just a little bit better. I'm hoping.
Can only hope. Can only hope.
But I know we got a long ways to go, and it is unfortunate, man. But because I've had to sit down and say, "Hey, look, man." And the thing is, what's even worse is they've come to me with certain little things that they see already. We're having even, this was when they were much younger. I'm like, God, and I've tried to protect. Only as much as the innocence. I'm like, let me just let them have this before I lay all this shit on them.
Right.
I
don't
so
blame you.
You know what I mean? I'm like, let me just let them before because it's what they're coming into. I feel bad.
Yep.
Because here's the harsh reality: life ain't fair.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And your journey is going to be different. You can't do the same thing as your white friends do. You can do it up to a point.
Right.
But they can do certain things alone that you can't. You got to move differently. Your tentacles always have to be up. It's tiring.
It's wrong,
man.
Is what it is.
It's tiring. I mean, just to always have that energy. That's why we need so much, like, have somewhere to decompress and go to, to meditate. I mean,
yeah.
That's why I maybe think we're so musical. We need these outlets, man, because otherwise it's just like beating yourself against a wall. You know, and
I think that one of the most beautiful things is being open, honest about the inequalities and having these conversations like you and I had.
Yeah.
Like Sinbad and I had, like Michael Bland and I had.
Yeah.
Because, normally you and I get together and we talk about music. We don't talk about this.
Right. Absolutely.
But the fact that we flipped the switch.
Yeah.
We flipped the switch and we can make it about that. And we can go, okay, it took a heinous act to make these conversations happen.
Yeah.
It just wasn't on our radar to do that because we do what we do.
Yeah. And it's normalized because I think, to me, the elephant in the room is always there. It's always bubbling. That's the thing. It's you can always count on, someone's going to say something to you, but it's always bubbling.
Yeah.
Whether we acknowledge it or not, that's,
right.
Like we interact and it's like we don't think about that, but, there may be people around us, there's, who might see us.
Sure.
What are they doing? What are they doing talking? You know what I mean? It could be any little thing because you just don't know.
Dumb,
but it's really, it's deep, man. And it's so built into the fabric of our lives that it's really hard. It's going to be tough. We got to do the tough work right now. And it's going to we got to do the tough work and we got to stay the course. And I think there's no turning back now on this. I think the fact that it's worldwide, I was looking at the crowds in Amsterdam, in Berlin, and all these places, and in France, amazing. So, I mean, this is a moment we have right now. We can't all be wrong. You know what I mean?
No.
It's people who are like, well, there's no white supremacy. There's no, come on, man.
Of course there is. And this is our opportunity.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's so the last couple of days I'm like I laid back a little bit just because in order for me to get keep my brain, keep everything, keep my spirit right. There's something else you have to do to I'm staying engaged, but not for about a week it was just we all were paralyzed and upset and mad and felt violent and all these things, all these emotions, which are allowed. But then I had to channel them into something positive. And then you can have all these people out here looting and rioting and that kind of thing. That's a whole different thing. But I understand it. I think some of these things have to happen. It's funny how the people in power are saying, or even, so I've had some white friends say to me, it's like, well, if they shouldn't be looting, it's you should sit down calmly and discuss. Do you realize how long we've been doing that?
First of all, nobody should be telling anybody what to do or how to feel.
Protest. That's just how do you realize how long we've been doing that? And mind you, too, this is a pirate country. They got everything they got, like stolen.
Yes.
Rapes. That's why we look the way we do.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that. I mean, it goes all the way back, man. So
yes, it does.
You're going to tell me that, you should sit down calmly and I mean, these people have been rioting. I mean, ask the First Nations people. That's a whole different subject.
Yes, it sure is. We got a lot of work to do.
Can you even find one? Can you even find a Native American? I mean, they're so scarce.
I know.
On the reservation, and here in Minnesota, which, I mean, this is, all these Native American names, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Mississippi, all these, can't even find one, man. So I mean, that's a whole different discussion, but it's a lot, man.
We got a lot of work to do, but I think this is a good way to start.
It's a start.
Getting it out in the open.
Yeah.
Talking about what we can do, and we aren't going to have the answers right now.
No.
But we can exert the effort to be educated.
Yeah.
To talk, and to have empathy, for God's sake, man.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that's missing in a lot of this.
Yeah, man.
Is basic human rights, and for me, that's empathy. And you have to have that. I mean, for me, the way I was raised, that's what we need.
Yeah.
And again, I hope this is the opportunity and that this world will take advantage of.
Yeah.
And begin that change. I can't thank you enough for spending an hour and a half with me, brother.
It's my honor, man. My honor.
This is really cool,
pleasure.
and I really appreciate it.
I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, right. We can do this all day long.
Right.
Tell me where we can find where you're going to be appearing once they let us do that again, and where we can find all your stuff.
Yeah, it's Stokley Official. It's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also I have a website which I will be selling merch at some point. Okay. iStokley.com, and of course, subscribe to the Stokley channels. I'm getting putting up more videos and things coming as soon as this COVID thing. I had a couple of video shoots lined up, but got to wait on that. But yeah, that's it. Stokley Official. Go to me, and I do this thing on Friday nights, deep in the evening, called Woke with Stoke, where I'm just this is my way of decompressing. A lot of times Friday night, that's what I'd be doing anyway. So I just invited everybody into my space, my home, and I'm just playing everything from around the world and around the way, as I call it. You know what I mean? And that's from from like 12:30, I guess a.m. Saturday morning. I guess from like 5:30 in the morning. So I mean, whoever's up there, people going up, getting up for work, some people going to sleep. So I'm like, you can. This is no pressure. You can put you ain't got to look at me. Put the phone down if you just want to listen to music real low. Put it down, and that's all I'm doing is playing music. Sometimes I engage in conversations. Sometimes I'm just listening and just kind of like going through a catalog of stuff. Sometimes I'm playing my own stuff that may never be released, sitting on my hard drive just to kind of test or whatever. We
got a few of those, don't we?
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, and it's just it's a fun time. So if you got time, if you're up, at Friday evening, late, deep in the evening.
All right.
Yeah,
all
man.
right.
But I appreciate you, man. Continue, and fight the good fight, man. So ask all your friends and relatives and everybody. We got a lot of work, but we can't do it without you all. What we're going to do on our side, what we need to do is to keep the pressure on, keep the light on, and we're trying to do this, make some progress, and hopefully make more progress than we've made in the past. We have a moment. Yeah. We have to, seize this moment that we have right now because it's really important for all of our sake, for humanity's sake. Because I think Black folks, we are we're the key to really making this country here. We have to make them accountable. But it's the key to really getting this whole peace thing once and for all. We are the key to it. If you look at history, nothing has really happened or moved forward unless Black people have pushed it. By force, of course, they didn't want it to. It wasn't out of the kindness of their heart that they're changing shit. So, but here we are again. But man. So,
thank you from the bottom of my heart, Stokley, everybody. Yeah. That's it for this episode of Music on the Run. Big thanks to my brother Stokley over here. We will see you in a couple of weeks. See ya. Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Edited and produced by my buddy Davide Raso. Video editing by Ivan Sebastianov. And a very special thanks to the people who financially support this podcast. And remember, Black Lives Matter.